What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of UFO War Room. This is episode 2. It's been a long time coming, about 6 months apart. Been kind of busy, been gearing up to get this going. So let's get this started. This is episode 2 of UFO War Room. We're going to be touching on 2 sightings. The first is a UFO sighting in inner city somewhere in America. And the second is a UFO alien sighting in Compton, California. And that's coming to us from this YouTube channel. So first, we're going to start off with UFOs _ NR.1, whatever that means. I don't know. There's going to be some very colorful language. I will attempt to edit some of it out, but I just want you to see this is a large group of people witnessing something that they've never seen before. Freaks me out because I can't tell what it is. Maybe you guys know what it is, and if you do, let me know in the comments. Let me know if this has been debunked recently, but this is a pretty cool sighting. It would definitely scare the shit out of me if I saw it. And yes, before anybody says it, I know I look like a chubby Vulcan. Live long and prosper.
Look at the UFO, bitch. No, we not making this shit up. Look at it. She gonna put
Unfortunately, there's some colorful language.
It's
Now,
a
there's a
UFO
street
for
light,
real, y'all.
and that's clearly not a street light.
That is crazy.
I don't know what that is.
Y'all, that's
I'm not even going to
crazy.
speculate to know what that is. This comes from June 9th,
It's a
Dallas,
UFO
Texas,
for real, y'all.
USA, as per the video. June 9th, so it's very recent.
I promise y'all. Look, we got all
But just imagine seeing that.
There ain't no damn street light.
I mean, it's clearly not a street light.
That's a street light.
Imagine seeing that, looking up in the sky and seeing that, and there's a beam.
That ain't no street
I'd be
light.
shitting my pants. That is some straight up Independence Day type shit right there.
This the fucking street light. That ain't no.
All right, so I'm going to cut that. Then we're going to bring us to the YouTube channel, Quirk Zone, which I subscribe to. He's got some pretty interesting things in this video. The one is the tree creature, which I'd like to delve into, which is really freaky, but I'm not going to delve into it on this video, probably episode 3, which is going to be next week. I'd like to make this a weekly series. I'm going to try and keep these between an hour and a half hour long, give or take, because it's going to be weekly. So let's get this started. This is coming from Compton, California.
That a person had posted on Instagram as well as on Facebook, and he posted this video. It's an amazing video. Just check this out. This was from a Ring camera that all of a sudden it went on. It was a motion camera. It went on in the middle of the night, about 3 minutes after 1 a.m. on June 6th, and it captured some sort of a weird creature walking by the front porch of this house in Compton, California. Check it out.
Now, if you're living in Compton, you got plenty of things to watch out for in Compton, California. High crime area. And the last thing you're worrying about is UFOs and aliens, but here we go with this shit. So I don't know what that is or was that does look like a gray to me. It's small, about 3 to 4 feet tall, and obviously he's hungry, so he's rummaging. There he goes again. That's a replay. He's rummaging through a garbage can or something. But I mean, just imagine, you wake up 3 a.m, you're delirious, and you see that shit walking around your house. I'd probably shit my pants because that is freaky looking. Bro, I don't even know. I'd like to touch on this later on in an episode. That's some crazy shit.
Now, it's a very, very strange looking creature. I got.
Definitely is. That comes from Quirk Zone on YouTube. Pretty cool channel. I like his stuff. Now we're going to jump into the Eric Burlison interview. And now we're going to jump over to the Congressman Burlison on UFOs and aliens. This was a Twitter space, which is, I guess it's kind of like a podcast with no video done on Twitter. It's very interesting stuff. And in this, he talks about some really, really interesting stuff. I caught dribs and drabs of it. I never got to listen to it all the way through. I'm going to basically be playing it, pausing it, giving my opinion. And again, these are my opinions. I am not any type of specialist. I don't know shit. I'm just a normal person like you guys who happened to witness a UFO 6 months ago, and I've been hooked ever since. So I've been wanting to get into this. I started doing this shit during the Jersey drones. You're going to hear some colorful language come from me. I'm going to keep this about as real as can be. I kind of want this to kind of be like a normal guy. I'm just a normal guy who has a YouTube channel. I have a gaming YouTube channel, and I'm very highly into UFOs, and I think this stuff is amazing. And I'm hoping that in my lifetime, I'm 49, that I'm going to get to see disclosure. It's kind of looking like it in the last 6 months. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but it's shit's gotten weird lately. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm 49. I've never seen anything until I started live streaming these Jersey drones, and that's when I witnessed my very first boomerang-shaped UFO soaring across the sky. 5 minutes later, followed by a freaking helicopter 500 feet above me, and it just, I'm hooked now. So let's get this started. This is a actual congressman who's been involved in this stuff. I watched both hearings, and the second one is the one that everybody makes a big deal of the first one. I make a big deal of the second one because I think in that second one, they really told us a lot of stuff without telling us. And what I mean by that is something that gets touched on in here for hybrids. That was a question asked by Anna Paulina Luna. See, I believe in listening to questions asked without being asked, if that makes sense. So she asked a question about hybrids in the previous hearings.
Rumors that have come up to the Hill of a secretive project within the Department of Defense involving the manipulation of human genetics with what is described as non-human genetic material, potentially for the enhancement of human capabilities, hybrids. Are any of you familiar with that? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
I am not, ma'am.
I'm not.
No, ma'am.
Hearings.
Okay, I would like,
which really threw me off. Like, why would somebody randomly bring that up unless they knew something? So you're going to hear about that stuff here. This is pretty cool. And then we're going to touch on another video from Rumble, which Congressman Burlison has an interview with another gentleman, and he touches on this stuff. So he goes back and touches back on this. So this is pretty cool. Let's get this going, and I'll shut the hell up and quit running my stupid mouth.
Account, because it's really, really appreciated. Go ahead, Amuse.
Tupac, you go. You've had your hand up the whole time. I'll let you go.
Oh, sure. It's kind of a change of subject a little bit, but Congressman Burlison, I'm curious about your trip to Mexico City recently and what your impression was of like the specimens you were able to kind of handle, and maybe the impression of like the mood of the room and like the scientific kind of academic side of things.
Can you provide us a little context for your question, Tupa, for the listeners who might not?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sure. So there have been since 2015 specimens taken from a Peruvian cave that people are calling and identifying as quote unquote alien mummies. So if you've seen these things kind of around.
He's referring to the Nazca mummies, which they're going to be touching base on in the future. And they're supposedly finally going to be, I guess, doing autopsies, which I thought that they did, but I'm not sure if they did or didn't do on these things to find out if they're legit. You can look that up in Google Nazca mummies. You're going to find tons of basically, opinion as to what these things are. No one really knows yet as to whether or not they're real, whether or not they're fake, but they are freaky looking. So let me get this going again.
That's what was the basis of the presentation in Mexico City last week or the week before. I forget how recent it was. But it was a big deal. Dr. Stephen Greer was there. Timothy, I forget his yeah, he's awesome. He was there, and of course you were there as well. And so yeah, I just wanted to get your firsthand impression of the presentation.
Yeah, so Tim Alberino came down because from my request, I asked him to come down. In fact, right now I would be with Tim Alberino in Montana if my flight had not been canceled. I was going to a conference that he's producing called the NEFCON, the NEPHCON. And for those of you who are not familiar, this guy he's amazing. He's brilliant, and he just he came out of nowhere. I'd never heard of him before. So I'm on the oversight committee, and we had a hearing with some UFO whistleblowers that had left the Pentagon. David Grusch basically left the Pentagon and came and presented in our oversight hearing. And I asked a lot of really challenging questions. After the hearing, some friends of mine from back home said, "Oh man, I heard about you on this podcast with Tim Alberino." I go, "Who's Tim Alberino?" "Oh, you've got to listen to this guy. He's amazing." So I started listening to the podcast, and it just was like opening up a whole new paradigm to me. that kind of actually kind of falls together. I don't know how to explain it, but Alberino has basically, I mean, he's an archaeologist who was in Peru. He lived in Peru for 10 years. And he basically lived in the Amazon and lived.
I think Alberino was big reporting on the pelicadas, which was the face peelers from Peru last year, or I think it was 2023 is when the pelicata stuff was going on. It's really freaky stuff. Definitely worth looking into if you're into ufology. Look into Tim Alberino and the pelicadas and all the stuff that was going on. Supposedly there was some UFOs filmed, or I'm sorry, aliens filmed in Peru that peel your faces back. And again, this is some freaky shit. If this all starts linking into being true, holy shit, man. Holy shit.
With and he discovered a lost city. He's not really an archaeologist. He's not a professionally trained one. He's basically an Indiana Jones.
Yeah. See, that's what I was gonna say. I'm glad he speculated on it. This dude looks like a cross between Razor Ramon and Indiana Jones. That's what he reminds me of. I'm not poking fun at him, but he's got the shirt open. He's machismo, Latino dude, real cool looking. I'm sure ladies throw themselves at him. He just looks like a Latino Indiana Jones to me. But I'd love to hang out with this dude because this dude seems to know some shit, man.
He just goes and just does it and documents it through video, and uses a lot of cool advanced tech to kind of do things. He's backed by some pretty big, some friends of his that are billionaires.
You kind of see this dude and you eye roll, right? You know what I mean? You're like, oh Jesus, really? Come on, could you be more of a? But then I think this Alberino guy's the real deal. I think he's legit. I'd love to talk to him. Don't take this as me shitting on you, brother. If you happen to see this, I love your stuff. I watch a lot of your stuff. I subscribe to your channel.
They love to back his expeditions, and then they'll go in and kind of be on site for it. But anyway, so I got to know Tim, and I found him to be really intriguing and fascinating. So I reached out to him, and then ever since then we've been close friends. And whenever I got invited down to Mexico City, because I'm kind of taking the lead on this UFO investigation in Congress. So I got invited. There's this object that's been flying around, that's been filmed flying around in Colombia, that is about. It's like a beach ball sized metallic sphere, and you can look this up on the internet. It's called the Buga sphere, and it's named Buga because it was the people captured this thing in Buga, Colombia. And then another one that's like an identical sphere was also filmed about 2 months later in a region about 30 miles away from the original one. So that sphere, apparently, what they said is that when it first came to the ground, it weighed about 2 kilograms, and by the time that I was able to look at it, it weighed a little over 10 kilograms. So what they claim is that it started gaining mass over time, and this sphere has got all these weird markings on it. It's just a wild looking thing. I went down there.
Yeah, what do you guys think of the Buga Spear? Let me know in the comments, because I still got to look into that. I did see the video he's talking about, the Colombian one, with it drifting all over the place, and I don't know, man. It just seemed a little contrived to me. It seemed like the camera knew where it was going. Then some people are saying, oh, it was on a fishing line. I don't know about that. The fact that this thing is that big and found, and then supposedly in the video, the dude goes and picks it up after it hits the ground. Yo, I'm not picking anything up that is like this. I don't understand why you would go and pick that up. I mean, anybody who knows anything about UFOs knows that people who have touched these things get screwed up afterwards. I wouldn't go near it, man. Screw that.
They're pretty skeptical, and I'll say I looked at the thing, and the moment I looked at it, I was like, okay, this looks fake. Right. It looks fake. But I'm just gonna. But I'll be open. I was leaving it open for the possibility of this. It really kind of, for whatever reason, it made me think of the book Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court. I don't know if anybody's ever read that book. It's been a long time since I read it, but it's like this. But it kind of made me think, okay, what if there is an alien, higher intelligence being that is somehow like on this planet, knows about like this really super advanced technology, but doesn't have the means to like like machine it professionally, right? Doesn't have advanced manufacturing access. And so I'm leaving it open to that. So when I was down there were scientists that were from NASA or that did work for NASA, 3 of them that were down there that went on the same trip with me at the same time because they wanted to get samples of this sphere. They were able to, I mean, and I was there for the negotiations on what they could actually cut off of the sphere. And it was pretty intense because you could tell the people that found this thing and have it, they don't want it cut up. They think that it'll compromise its capabilities. And for what, again, it was interesting to be there to see it firsthand. And so they cut off about 1 gram, I think, of metal on the surface, and what they're going to test that for is to see if it was made on planet Earth or if it's from another planet. And apparently that's what they can do with that test. They also cut some, so the sphere has these little holes that go around it, around the like what you would think is the equator, and they cut this type of what they call the fiber optic. So when you look in a magnifying glass, the inside of these holes, these little tiny holes, is filled with these intricate other holes, and so that's what they were calling a fiber optic or something. And so they were able to cut into that and pull that material out, and they're going to test it because they think that they can get carbon dating on that.
So yeah, I noticed that the pictures that I've seen, it had like these little drill holes all around it in a circle, in the circumference around it, kind of like you said, the equator. And I couldn't figure it out. It just, I don't know, man. Now, are they saying that this particular spear that they have in the picture is the same one? This one here? Are they saying that it's the same one that was flying around in the Colombian video? That's the thing that confuses me. So, all right, let me let this go. Shut the hell up.
And also determine what it is. So that happened, and then they were able to get samples from the bones of some of these mummified remains of what they claim are aliens. Now I'll tell you. So David Grusch, who is the UFO whistleblower that used to be, I mean, he was the top guy in the Pentagon working for the Air Force in Air Force Intel, investigating all of the agencies of the federal government that were doing anything with UAP. And he was the central figure. He's the guy who came forward to blow the whistle and say that there's a bunch of illegal activity happening around this topic, and there's no real oversight. Congress isn't being informed, and he's a patriot. And so, of all of the people in the UFO community, he's probably the most trusted person.
Okay.
I'm not saying that I believe him, but I believe that he believes what he says is true. And so, but whenever I talked with him about these mummies that were down in Mexico City and Peru, what he said is the reason why I went down there. And what he said is that there's a bunch of fake ones down there, that there are a bunch of these mummies that are just recreations and they're faked. But he said, but there's some that are so intricate that he doesn't believe that they're fake. And he said that the large ones resemble something that he was briefed on and saw in his role working for the federal government, which tells me, so that to me, that was really interesting. So I wanted to see it for myself. And that's why I went down there.
And
Hopefully
Real quick, what was your
Oh.
conclusion about the mummies when you saw them?
Again, I think I'm going to be skeptical. I think that they're fake. I think that the sphere is fake, but I'm going to keep an open mind, and I'll wait for the test results to come back.
Thank you, Congressman. I'm really curious about David Grusch's comments regarding the large ones. I forget what type they are, right? Because there's 3 different types allegedly. But the larger ones, they are pretty much humanoid, but they have 3 long fingers and 3 long toes.
Yeah.
And kind of an elongated head, kind of a traditional alien-looking head, if you will. I mean, it's so bizarre, right?
Now, listen, with the little ones, right? Everybody's like, "Oh my God, how silly!" And now there's no way, bro. We wouldn't know what an alien looked like if it dry humped our leg right now. Like nobody would know what a real alien looks like. You know what I mean? Nobody, except for maybe an alien or somebody who sees it. And most people, they can't wrap around their mind, which is something that Grusch said also. Is he said in those interviews, he said, "Be careful as to what you think an alien looks like, because it might not look like what we think it is, and it might not be appealing to us." So, like, these things can look like anything. Your mind is a creation. Look at the millions of species on Earth. None of them are pretty. A lot of them are hideous looking, and would look as alien as can be. That goofy looking thing with the little thing that sticks out and teeth like this. I'm talking about the fish. It looks enormous, but they're actually like this big. Those weird looking fish. You never in your mind would think that would be a normal a fish, for fuck's sake, until someone pulled it out of the ocean. So we don't know what these things look like. So to say that this little mummy can't possibly be an alien is stupid. You don't know what it looks like.
That it begs the question, like, the reason why I think they're being taken seriously, I without knowing what Grusch said, I thought that was the case as well. Is it must resemble something similar, right? Even the smaller types, they resemble the Close Encounters of the Third Kind aliens that come out of the ship at the end of that film. But the idea that Grusch has come across imagery or reports that match that body type or that anatomy, is there any other things like that he's kind of tipped off, that anything that might be kind of legitimate, any other cases of contact or descriptions of beings?
Yes, I mean, he's told me quite a bit. I don't know how much I can, but he's told me, and he's very careful. He doesn't tell me things that I'm not allowed to hear, in a public setting. So I guess I can share with you. What he says that there are classifications. There's of different species. So I was in a briefing where Eric Davis, who is the top scientist for the CIA, he gave in an open hearing. He told me in front of the world on YouTube that there are that they have identified 4 species of aliens.
Now, for weeks, I've been wanting to make a video. I wanted that video to be my second UFO War Room video, but I just had a lot going on. But that shit blew my mind when I heard that. I'm like, whoa, hold on. Let's back this up. This is now the 3rd UFO hearing that they kept quiet. And this dude's talking about legitimately 4 separate species. Listen to this shit.
The one that's called the gray, which is the grays are like a robotic, a flesh-like automaton kind of creature that's really doesn't really have it's acting under the direction of another species,
Like an avatar almost.
Which is the Ebens. So that's what they said that the Greys were. That the Greys were Ebens, Eben 1, Eben, the whole story. So those stories might be goddamn true now. So you're hearing these things, and this is the new stuff that it's new to me anyway. That I've been hearing about the Greys being, being little clones that just basically worker bees. They do what they're told, and now they're mixing up things because there's the tall whites, right, and then there's the Nordics. I thought they were 2 separate things because they're going to get into these, and they're going to kind of mix them up a little bit. So supposedly the Greys work for the tall whites, which are different than the Nordics, but I could be wrong. I'm still new to all this stuff. I'm learning. So if I'm wrong, let me know. Let me know. And if you got a link, drop that link in the comments because I love to read it. I'm really diving down this rabbit hole deep.
Probably, yeah, probably like another. I don't know which species it is being controlled by. And then you've got this creature that resembles like a mantis, or like a, what do you call it, praying mantis.
Which
And
we've
so a
heard
lot of
for
people
years.
call it an insectilid. And
Insectoid.
so you've got that creature, and then there's a reptilian.
Again, we've heard this for years.
And then there's one that they call the Nordic one.
Yeah, the tall whites or
And
the
what they
Pleiadians.
Yeah, and so what they claim is that they look somewhat human, and so what Grusch has told me, this is what blew my mind, and what he said that happened with Trump. And I'll just tell you this, and just again, I don't know that. I want to preface this by saying this is not what I believe. This is what I've been told. Okay, he said that the Nordic people or the Nordic aliens are like a few hundred years more advanced than we are, but they're not super advanced. They're not like, he said, the Greys, whatever is sending the Greys is extremely advanced, like thousands and thousands of years more advanced than us.
See, I tend to believe that for the Greys because, the shit that they could do is insane from what's speculated. But I don't believe that about the Nordics because these Nordics have been referenced all throughout our history. So you're talking over 2,000 years, right? So if they're only a few hundred years ahead of us as far as technology and space travel, etc., that wouldn't make sense chronologically if these things have been seen and referenced as far as Nephilim. And what they said was, they're talking about hybrids. Obviously, these Nordics are a little randy and seeing our human women and going, "Do I make you horny, baby? Do I?" And then hooking up with, doing a little boom boom and making babies or whatever it is that they're doing. So it doesn't make sense if their ancestors are the Nephilim that we've heard about. So now is where science meets religion, meets this, meets that, and all this stuff rolls into one big ball of just holy shit. So let's get this going.
Because it's doing all the anti-gravity stuff, all crazy, all this crazy stuff that's very highly advanced. And a lot of it is what he says with the Greys is psionic. So they basically don't have physical interfaces. They're using their mind, and that there's an interface that picks up thought, and then that and that's how they operate these vehicles, is out of psionic. But the Nordic people somewhat resemble humans, and they have been experimenting with crossbreeding with humans. And he says some of them, that there are aliens that are crossbreeds living in the world. And I asked him, I go, okay, do they know that they're a crossbreed, or do they, like, how would you know that they are a crossbreed? And he didn't have an answer for that. Like he didn't know if they knew what, but he said that the briefings he's had talked about them. And he said when Trump was briefed on this topic, because Trump finally had a briefing, and he was in the middle of impeachment, like he was in the middle of being impeached. So he's going through that, and then he had like this existential briefing that just kind of rocked his worldview. He joked in the briefing whenever they said that there are these half breeds. He joked that Adam Schiff must be one of them.
Dude, that's just this guy. This guy Trump is he's just different. I mean, he really is. Whether you like him, whether you hate him, the man is just different. If you listen to what he just said, he was literally in the middle of getting impeached. Now, if you rewind back 4 years ago, the world was in straight chaos. This man's getting impeached. You got COVID going on. The world's shutting down. You got kids getting arrested for eating pizza. You got people getting arrested for surfing. this guy's getting a briefing on aliens and UFOs and hybrids. He makes a joke about one of them being Adam Schiff. The balls on this man. That's how he's able to take a freaking bullet to the ear and get up and do what he did. Like, again, you don't like him. I get it. There's a lot of things I don't like about him, but the guy's got balls, man. You got to respect that. You have to. Like, he's getting knowledge dropped. We got aliens. We got hybrids. And he's going, Adam Schiff's one. Fucking insane to me.
And so, yeah, Nifty Schiff is an alien, half breed.
I mean, I could see him being a.
And I was trying to find out what this is for this Twitter space. I'm new to Twitter and learning how to use it. So I was trying to find the actual link for Twitter for this, and I just couldn't, for whatever reason, to get it to play again. And I found it on this Red Panda guy's channel. So if Red Panda is the reason this all happened, thank you, because this is awesome. And if you're not, thank you anyway for replaying this, because this is great.
A reptile hybrid, if that means being a snake, you know.
Yeah. So I'm just telling you exactly what was said to me. I also I've had some pretty interesting people now that I'm doing this that have kind of like reached out to me. One guy who has.
Did they take him out? Did we lose him?
Yeah.
Oh,
I can't hear
Was he
him.
going to talk about Avi Loeb, maybe?
Dun.
You cut out, this Congressman.
Can you hear me?
I can
Now
hear
we
you
can.
now. We thought
Okay.
the deep state got you, brother.
Okay, so yeah, this somebody tried to call me, but yeah, this guy, he reached out to me.
Somebody.
He's got these really advanced drones, and he showed me a photo of something from that was a photo that was taken by one of the drones, and it's of a pretty weird looking plane, but it's clearly it's clearly man built. And what
Eric,
this guy's, go ahead.
well, that's I was a perfect time for me to ask you the question. I'm kind of this camp where I have a little bit, and I don't know how far up, read with DARPA and some of their technologies. I try to keep up on that just as a civilian, so my knowledge is limited. But I'm fully aware of things like Giordano and other agencies where our techniques, our technology is very advanced. And I think that with the UAP letters that you wrote last year in 2024 and again this year, I appreciate you kind of stabbing them with black budget. Where is this money coming from for these, agencies in this legacy programs, as well as what technology could the regular people, the public benefit from? Are there technology?
Exactly.
That's the problem. And what I see is I want to tell you is that the reason transparency is important is there's a lot of people out here that not only are they spending their tax dollars building this technology, they're also spending their personal funding going out trying to look at UAPs. So the thing is that they're thinking that aliens are coming, there's psychosis occurring, there are cults forming, and there are people that just don't see the fact that they're actually looking at advanced technology that our government has been using and performing since probably post-World War II. So to me, it's like that's kind of the point where we are, where maybe this technology could increase civilian production and manufacturing. I think we could get rich off of some of this stuff. But, you're dealing right now with lobbying and things, trying to make sure that those only go into one area. I just want to thank you for writing those letters, bringing Grusch into your fold, as well as Danny Sheehan. I think Sheehan is doing a really great job bringing the public into helping you, with your goal. I just want to say thanks for what you're doing. And boy, I want transparency for the sanity of some very smart people like Avi Loeb. Avi Loeb, for instance, with his Galileo project, he's inviting people out to say, let's look at this stuff. What are we going to find?
Yeah, no, I think that
I don't know who she was, but holy shit.
I think that what is clear to me is that we do have.
That was great, and she's right. Like, how many technological advancements are being kept back because government agencies want to play, God and keep this information to themselves? And we understand fully that a lot of this stuff is dangerous, but the medical advancements in medicine, energy, all this stuff can just literally propel humanity into the future and help everybody. Like, why wouldn't you want to do this stuff? It's insane. And then gatekeeping it is stupid because now you can't get the advancement that you should. It just all seems weird. It truly does.
have something pretty crazy and advanced that we're keeping under extreme lock and key. When Lou Elizondo came in, and so I like Lou and I like Christopher Mellon. I like everybody. I try to like, even though a lot of these people in this UAP community, they all hate each other. That's one thing I found in common.
It's so toxic.
They all hate each other.
There are
And they
whistleblowers
all-
using like CIA sort of like, like tactics online in order to crash narrative people.
Well,
Like
I mean,
actually
the communities. I mean,
you're on the
I've
stage
watched
with
the-
one of them actually. Yeah, I mean honestly.
I've watched the community, the UFO, the UAP communities just completely rip each other apart. It is an extremely competitive like field of discussion, especially on Twitter. But Eric, go ahead and finish.
Yeah, no, it is. It's kind of the awful part of this whole experience is you're sitting down with somebody that, and all I'm in is fact finding mode. I'm just trying to listen with it, and I am skeptical. I'm listening with a skeptical perspective, but I feel like at some point I'll be able to ascertain some truth, given that, you know what I'm saying? Like if somebody's lying to you, sometimes you can figure out what they're saying, what of what they're saying might be true. And so at the end of the day, like it is pretty interesting to me that they all hate each other. Now, generally speaking, what I did find in common is they all have a high level of respect for David Grusch.
Yep.
That's like universal, which is why I felt comfortable bringing him into my team. And he's very gracious to do it. Like he can make a ton of money outside, and he's taking peanuts to work for me. But they all have that high level of respect for him. When I sat down with Lou and Christopher Mellon and Eric Davis in my office, they very much warned me, do not go near what they called, I can't remember if it was the green projects or the blue projects, basically official US government advanced technology special access programs. Because they said, if you do, you will get significant pushback and it would be really bad. And so to me, what that says, when I'm hearing that, and then at the same time they're talking about all this crazy UFO stuff, like that there's 4 types of aliens, that we have people with psionic ability that are able to pull these things out of the ether, and I mean, like just stuff that's like out there, right? Like men staring at goats kind of stuff. And so I'm listening to this, but what I do think is like, okay, there clearly is something the United States government is working on. That to me, that's the one thing that I took from that conversation that I know must be true, is that there's something extremely important that we are working on that is highly, highly advanced. And the question is, so to me, one of the questions is, what they explain is that we derived that advanced technology from ancient craft.
Reverse engineered.
Yeah, we reverse engineered it. That's what they claim. That what you're seeing, the advanced
Which makes sense. Look at the technological advancements we've had in the last 75 years. It doesn't make sense. You don't jump from the things that we jump from to fiber optics and all the crazy shit we got now to this, basically. I mean, this is basically a computer. It says every advancement of technology and communication possible known to man on this earth that you could do with this. It's crazy. You don't go from horse and carriage to that in 150 years, and you didn't get a boost from somewhere. So no one's stupid, you know? That's the problem, is the government thinks that humanity's stupid, and they play on humanity being stupid. We're not stupid.
And then when you talk to Stephen Greer, he says the same thing. He says that like the B2 even has like reverse engineered technology in the B2, that in a ton of things that we have today, whether it's fiber optics or like quantum computing, all of that was reverse engineered from these alien craft. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But that's what I'm trying to get down to. I want to get to the bottom of that. And as I sat on a plane for 3.5 hours on the tarmac to try to use jet fuel to get me to a conference, I was thinking about the fact that wouldn't it be nice if the technology that is supposedly able to defy gravity that potentially exists, the technology that's able to like warp space or whatever, wouldn't it be nice to have that technology instead of sitting on a sweaty airplane, like hot airplane that's not moving on a tarmac because of conventional weather? That's what angers me, is that you've got some people that are holding on to these secrets that really could potentially be benefiting everybody.
He's right.
Amen. Amen.
Congressman Burlison,
He's right.
first of all, I really appreciate that you're willing to humor us here. Let me ask you this real quick while I got 2 on the space. Would you mind coming back like in the next month or so and doing a UAP space with me and Tupa?
Yeah,
And Jenny, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
All
Yeah.
right, awesome. Where we can
Now,
just
that would
focus on
encourage
that topic?
everybody. What I would encourage everybody to do is look up that my friend Tim Alberino, because it will blow. Does anybody on here, if anybody's on here has heard of him, raise your hand or whatever, because the guy is just, he was on Sean Ryan just recently. Sean Ryan, he's been on Tim Pool. And his paradigm
Yeah, we
is,
should try to get him on here as well.
you really should. He's one of the most intelligent, like just, and he's got like, he knows things that are unconventional, right? Because he's lived in other countries and he's like studied other cultures. One of his big things is he studied megalithic sites, and he has a book about, and what the conference that he's doing right now is laying out the case that cataclysm, particularly cataclysm that is timed according to the zodiac. And what he explains is that the zodiac is not about astrology. It's truly an ancient calendar or a timeline for approximately how often the Earth's magnetic poles reverse. And that when that happens, nearly everybody dies. Like the planet goes through this massive shift, nearly everybody dies, and then there's a remnant that remain. And because civilization is now totally wiped out, they might have a little bit of knowledge of what to do. But like, if you asked me to build a LED television, I would have no idea how to do that. Right?
Tell me.
I mean, let's think basics, right? If what he's saying is true, there's a cataclysmic event which has happened all throughout human history. I mean, it's talked about with the ark, it's talked about with the flooding, it's talked about with this, it's talked about with that. You saw it happen, in the dinosaurs. It's how they got wiped out. The meteor supposedly hit the Earth somewhere in, what is it, Arizona, and rocked shit and changed everything. So if, God forbid, that happened again, he's talking about building LED lights. Screw LED lights. Make a fucking fire. How many people can make a fire? How many people can survive longer than 3 weeks out in the wild, in the wilderness? If, God forbid, something happened to where we have no power, this big EMP pulse, nuclear holocaust happens. Now you take away everything that we know, the air conditioning that's you hear in the background right now. All that's gone. Take it all away. Now you start from ground zero. Do you think that we'd be able to keep any of this information? No. You can't even remember 5 phone numbers nowadays because that's how we are. So he's right. If this happened, we had a cataclysmic event, we are screwed. And we're starting all over. So who's to say that the Nordics or the Greys or who's to say that they're not us in the future? Or they're not civilizations that were here before ours that have learned to live on this planet, in the oceans, in the ground, on the moon, that have learned to live elsewhere because they know that at some point it's wiping the slate over again. Uno reverso. Let's start over again.
Tell me you saw the Teotihuacan, you went to the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon in Mexico City. Tell me at least that, and then go into that story, and that'll totally blow your mind.
No, I didn't have time to do that. I literally was there and this is how the only time I really ever have to do things like that is to fly in the night before, and then I'll fly out the next day. So I was only in Mexico City for like pretty much one day. So I'll have to go
Thanks
back.
again for everything.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well,
Congressman.
let's do another one of these on the UAP topic. It'll be fun.
Oh, I think so too. We can do it on the weekend or whatever is convenient for you. Last time we did one, I held a video space, so we had like a video aspect of it, and we kind of went through a documentary information. Really, really cool setup. So, thank you, Congressman. I think I have one more question for you on stage, and then I think we can call it a wrap. I just want to again reiterate, everybody who's listening right now, make sure that you are all following Congressman Burlison. You can follow both of his accounts. He's on his personal account right now. He has we have his official account up in the title of the space. Go up there, make sure you share his content. I mean, how often do you see a congressman willing to come down and be honest with you on X Spaces? I love Spaces for this. Thank you, Congressman. Southern, you're going to be the last question, and then we're going to let him go. Southern.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
I can hear y'all now. Thank you so much. I had a different question about Scott Bessent, but I'm going to flip to what we were just talking about with the UAP. I fell in love with anthropology. I had to pick a science. I picked anthropology. This could be an involvement of convergence, human technological convergence. What do you think? We did that. That's how we grew and evolved and changed. Is that possible?
I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but can you elaborate that question?
I'm sorry. It's a theory, cultural evolution theory. Why did Egypt do something that Mexico did? They never crossed over, but they came up with the same plan with their pyramids and
right.
The way they could observe, like Chichen Itza in Mexico.
So do you want my opinion, or do you? So I'll give you my opinion, and you can take it for what it is.
Okay.
I'm a Christian. I believe that there's so much truth in the Bible. In fact, so I'll tell you guys something that I have. David Grusch put me in contact with an individual who blew my mind. I don't know if I can believe him, but it's an individual who has aliens talk to him. And this individual went from being a Jewish person to being an atheist in his life. When he started talking to what he calls his aliens, or angels, they started talking to him. He has these strange experiences, and then his wife will transcribe what he says, and a lot of it is predictions that come true. And what he told me is he became a Christian. He started believing in Jesus because these things that were talking to him said, yes, Jesus is real. Jesus, was a real person. He really did perform these miracles, and this guy, and he was the Messiah, and he is part of the divine council with God. And then a guy who didn't even know what the divine council was, the Bible, suddenly was being told through. So anyway, that was an interesting thing. So let me go back to your question. When you ask, like, all these ancient, like, megalithic sites like Machu Picchu, or the pyramids that are in, whether in the Aztec Empire, the Inca, and then you've got pyramids of Egypt, it's ubiquitous across the world. And some of these sites have got stone structures at their base that there's even modern technology and modern machinery would have a very difficult time putting in place and making it that perfect. It suggests to me that there were ancient civilizations that were extremely advanced. And what happens is and I think Tim Alberino is right. Like, you have cataclysm occur, whether it's a comet that hits, or it's the poles the electromagnetic, the
Noah's
magnetic
Ark.
poles.
Noah's Ark, Eric.
Yes, and so it creates the Noah's Ark experience, right? And so if you read the Bible, pre-Noah was a pretty wild period in world history. And that pre-Noah period, you had, and this where it fits in with the UFO phenomenon, okay? And when David Grusch is telling me that there's a Nordic type of aliens that crossbreeds with humans and creates this crossbreed, in the Bible it describes this. In Genesis 6, it says that that basically angels looked down and lusted after the women of earth. They decided to come together, and they came down and they copulated with so basically they created hybrids, and the hybrids were called the Nephilim. And the Nephilim were considered giants or mighty men, basically demigods. And so the question,
And we know that giants existed because they found skeletons. And that's the other thing. So you had all throughout human history, you've had the Catholic Church just confiscate and hide shit into the Vatican for centuries. I would love to see the crazy shit the Vatican has. Would love to see it. And then you've also got rumors of Hitler being guided by the Nordics. They said that the Nordics, I guess, sided with Hitler in the beginning of the World War I and II. And that's why when you make reference to those planes in Antarctica seeing UFO saucers with goddamn Nazi logos on them, that all makes sense now. So
is like when you hear this, it's like it sounds like just wild, but it's in the Bible. And if you look through not just the Bible, but what about Greek mythology? You look at every like major historical document. It always goes back to some tale about a god that comes down, creates a half breed, and then that half breed rules. And so
and he's right.
I
Every
don't
single
like to
society
me
has
that's
it.
a fascinating overlap that consistently happens. And so what Tim Alberino says is that, look, the Bible describes angels as non-earth creatures. At the end of the day, that means they're alien. They're not from planet Earth. They're from somewhere else. And we tend to think of them as like ethereal, that they're just these like shadow type figures, but they do have physical form, because if you read the Bible, they have physical form. They often actually look weird because they're startling when people see them. And they always have to say, do not be afraid when somebody sees them. So that tells you that they don't always look human. And so it's an interesting overlap with this whole the history of our civilization potentially.
I'm with you on that, and you can respond. Yep, go ahead. Did you want to respond to him, Southern? Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you, Diligent. Amen, Eric. The more I learn, the more I realize faith is simple. Einstein, look at him at the end of his life. The ones who really reached beyond to find, they found out it was just simple. It's faith.
Even Elon Musk said over the last year that he was coming to the belief that there is a higher power after a lifetime of atheism.
But I do think our planet has gone through multiple iterations with the polar situation, which I believe that's astrology, is an ancient calendar, because all these divergent communities like the Aztecs and stuff, they figured it out. I remember being at Chichen Itza. I was on a cruise, and we took 2 days off the ship, which we weren't supposed to, but I knew some people, and we were able to pull it off because I wanted to see how the shadows formed and everything. It was perfect. They formed an observatory to study the skies. It just blows my mind. We're seeing in stone dinosaurs before they existed for 60 million years. It's insane what we're finding. And we have so much that's underground because of this cataclysmic floods and everything else. We're finding things so far down. carbon dating. Thank God we know and understand that. But I do believe we had some very advanced society here that was lost to us. And people see that as we weren't ready for that. I think it was natural occurrences, but the Bible, every time somebody tries, and I look at the real world, I'm always amazed when I go back to the Bible, it is there. Everything is in that Bible.
Amen, Southern. Amen. Thank you again, Congressman Burlison. I really, really appreciate your time. Like, I can't thank you enough, sir, really. And looking forward to doing a space with you and Tupa on the UAP issue. Yeah. I am actually extremely skeptical, but I find the subject fascinating. And I just want to add my little comment about our conversation on that last part, which is I paid very close attention to Grusch's recounting of what the what the pilots were of these vehicles. And I heard the term non-human intelligence floated around so many times that it made me kind of feel like maybe what we're looking at is just an advanced artificial intelligence and not necessarily some kind of form of organic intelligence, which would kind of coincide with like this extremely advanced technology that the U.S. has that they're allowing people to believe is really an alien technology. That's kind of my line of thinking. But I don't know, you know.
Yeah. I personally think it's a mixture of both. I think it's a mixture of both alien, meaning outer worldly, and non-human intelligence, meaning something not human, but that lives here. I mean, we've heard reference of them being in our oceans. We've heard reference of them being in the mountains. We've heard reference of them being underground. So all three of these things could be true. We've heard references of bases on the moon. Again, all of these things could be true. It could be AI. It could be an advanced AI civilization that who controls the Ebens. We don't know. I guess we're going to find out sooner, hopefully sooner rather than later. I don't believe the Nordics are only a few hundred years ahead of us. That wouldn't make sense because there's references to them in Jesus's time and in ancient Bible society time. So that would lead them to be a couple of thousand years above us, which would make sense.
Yeah, who knows?
Can I ask one?
Go ahead. Yeah.
And because you're on the UAP committee, have you seen or heard anything that you can talk? I don't want you to repeat it, but have you, from what you have seen and what you have heard, have you come to believe that there is absolutely something there, either of this world or not, that we do not, that we have not been disclosed to about?
I've not been given any kind of secret knowledge in that regard. No, because nothing that you haven't seen in these public hearings. And so to me, I revert to the fact that I'm from the show me state. You're going to have to show me. I don't I'm going to continue to invest just like you. I'm going to keep an open mind and I'm going to investigate it, but I'm not going to definitively say, yes, we are not alone. There are aliens. They exist. That's just not. I'm gonna have to see it for myself before I say that. And I think the UAP community likes that about me, or at least that's what they tell me, because they know I think what they like is to have like a what do you call it? The placebo of the group, right? Like I'm the one that's of the people investigating this. I'm the non-believer, and so if I suddenly change my paradigm and I start talking about this and saying that no, I have seen something that tells me that we're not alone, then they can definitively know that they can trust that.
I'm going to cut on that because I don't want it sounds like it's getting political, and I'm not interested in getting political, at least not on this show and not on this format. So I'm going to switch it to, as I say, I don't want to get political. I switch it to Rumble, which is very political. Then we're jumping over to a podcast he did recently on this AP for Liberty podcast over on Rumble.
Apparently, President Trump was briefed about tall, white, hybrid aliens that walk among us, known as Nordics or Pleiadians, and whatever is sending the grays are thousands of years ahead of us. I have no idea what any of that means. But here's what it says. Congressman Eric Burlison revealed in an X Space that David Grusch gave a briefing to Trump that there are aliens who walk among us that are a few hundred years ahead of human technology, can easily blend into our society. Sounds like science fiction. Help me understand this, Congressman. What is this all about?
Yeah, this is what happens when you have people on Twitter that think that they're journalists. Here's the thing. Let me make it very clear. First of all, David Grusch did not brief the president on this.
Okay.
I have heard from multiple people that Trump was briefed, and the joke is that when he was briefed that there were hybrid aliens, that he joked that one of them must be Adam Schiff. And so whether or not it's true, I can't, I'm on the pursuit to determine what is true within this UFO phenomenon. And until I see a Nordic alien myself, I'm not gonna say that they exist.
If there is an alien, though, it's definitely Adam Schiff, maybe Nancy Pelosi. Congressman, is there anything else that we missed that you'd like to share with our audience? We do have several of your constituents who are listening to the show this morning, maybe eager to hear from you about anything you're working on or anything you'd like to plug before we let you go today.
No, I just want to say, some of the bills on the Second Amendment that I'm filing are one to repeal the National Firearms.
All right, so obviously this was a political podcast or whatever it is on Rumble. He didn't go too much into the topic of UFOs. He did clarify and say that it wasn't David Grusch that did the briefing. I believe in the other podcast he said it was Eric Davis. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I wanted to touch on the Mosul orb, but I'm going to save that for next week when more stuff comes out because people are ripping it to pieces. I don't know why people like to rip Jeremy Corbell to pieces. I understand he can be a little eccentric, etc., but I think Corbell is on the right track into doing what he should be doing. I think he's very calculated with what he releases, and yes, I know that the videos look stupid and silly and blah, 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 and it's 4 seconds and yada, 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 but the dude is releasing more shit than we've seen from anybody else recently in the past, 30 years is come from Corbell and his buddy George Knapp. So this was the episode of UFO War Room, episode 2, coming out with another one next week. I'm going to try and do it weekly. There's no way I can keep up with the topic. Everything changes from day to day. It's insane how fast UFO stuff comes out. So this is episode 2 of UFO War Room. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think of the episode. What would you like to see next week's episode? Catch you guys next time. See you later. Peace out.